Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of After Dark Fairy Tales. I have a new story for you guys, and this one is called Insanity Eater. It's a nice little horror tale by an author named A.y.R. Their story was first published on Etsy, and I'm going to narrate it to you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it like I did. I want to give all credit to A.y.R. They wrote a very magnificent story, and they had a little request for me. They wanted me to narrate their story with a British accent. So, I'm going to try to do it, but I'm not too good with British accents. I've done it before, but guys, if I sound really, really stupid or dumb, just please feel free to turn the video off. But I'm going to do my best, and I hope the author likes it. So, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. So you guys tell me what you think. So, are you ready? Here we go. Insanity Eater by A.y.R. Beware, beware the creature's eye. She feeds from fear deep in your mind. The words carved into the cover of the disfigured leather journal. Remnants of arson gnawed on the edges of its half-burnt spine, and traces of murder stained the once freshly cut birch pages to the stench of rotting flesh. The inspector closely examined the warning on the cover under fading light of his candle. Too hard to be penetrated by quill, yet the engraving lacked the precision of a blade. The madman had dug his own nails into the book as if the warning was for himself. The inspector paced uneasily across his office, his thoughts overshadowed by the thundering storm raging outside, and the demonic wails from the jail cell, the cries belonging to the once brilliant zoologist Dr. Howe, who now was held charge for the murder of his colleagues and the destruction of his own blown-up laboratory. The inspector had involved himself with the most horrific killers and arsonists on the streets of his crime-infested city. Yet, there was just something about this case that haunted him, as if his investigation was shadowed by a sinister omen. His grip held tightly on the journal found in the mad doctor's possession upon his arrest. If the doctor kept his sanity long enough to maintain his conduct as a scientist, he would have recorded all his findings and observations, and his journal would be the key to unraveling the mystery. The inspector considered himself a logical man. His logical mindset was a powerful and reliable tool he utilized to uncover his previous cases, yet he could not explain why he shuddered at the thought of the dark secrets he would uncover on the doctor's findings. "Tea?" his assistant offered with an anxious gaze. "Please," he replied, as his fingers slowly slid under the front cover to reveal the first page. "I sense this night has much to offer." August 10th, 1989. Upon my expedition in the sub-Saharan deserts, I happened to come across an archaeological discovery. I found myself in what seemed like a burial chamber, surrounded by strange symbols and drawings, possibly hieroglyphics from the language of an ancient kingdom. At the center of it all was what appeared to be the most curious statue I'd ever seen. I initially thought it to be a deity of an old civilization, a mythological goddess, a human-like body, 6 arms positioned as if ready to pounce onto a prey with its spear-tipped claws. The body swarming with what appears to be eyelids, mapped out like blood vessels, all eyes shut, all but one. The giant eye that envelops its entire face, from the right corner of its forehead to the left center of its chin, stretched open as if were a python swallowing its prey whole. Within the eye, a set of 3 pupils and 3 irises, streaking across like claw marks, 3 precise pinholes in the pupils jabbed through the head. Archaeology is beyond my field of studies. Statues and discoveries of such would be nothing worth recording in my reports. Yet something about this figure seems almost organic, as if it were once a living being, or rather still is. I simply cannot rule out the possibility that I've discovered a new prehistoric species. As faint as the possibility may be, I must be certain it will be taken back to my lab for further analysis. September 17th, 1889. The subject is truly fascinating. We've been working tirelessly, running numerous tests. The stones show properties of both fossilized carbon and decomposed tissue, yet it still seems too intricately preserved to not be a man-made structure. These may be the thoughts of a man showing first signs of becoming senile, but I could have sworn the statue was broken into more and smaller fragments when we first discovered it. A self-joining material, perhaps. If that were the case, my discovery could truly revolutionize the future of the modern world. The inspectors noticed the end of each following entry appeared to contain a tally. 53 he counted beneath the first, second, and third entries. The number at first seemed to remain a constant pattern until a following entry ended with 52, then 49, a few entries later until slowly reduced to 45. October 17th, 1889. My suspicions were correct. There are fewer and fewer fragments on the stone, and the remaining pieces appear to be growing. The subject is self-healing. The material it consists of is indeed a self-repairing one. It appears to have a memory of its own, to return to its original form. If anything, this further supports my theory that this was indeed once a living being, or perhaps still is. The archaeologist's letters were folded between the blood-stained pages, the bleeding ink blended among the red. The inspector closely observed each mark on the page, reading carefully between the fragments that remained intact, decrypting as much of the message as he could make out. My dearest friend, hope this letter reaches you well. I'm writing to inform you that I've deciphered the encryptions at the site of your discovery. The language is in fact Aramaic, and I must say they are of a rather sinister nature. I, as much as you, am not one to believe in ancient curses or the paranormal of sort. But if your theory stands correct, and it is indeed a fossil or a mummy, then I'd advise to heed these warnings with great caution. Inscriptions you found at the burial site speak of a most terrible creature who lingers in the shadows and feeds off fear and insanity. Legend goes, these creatures are the reason we fear the dark. They are the reason why we turn our heads towards the strange flicker in the corner of our eye, the reason why we hold our breath at the sound of creaks nearby. They are the reason why we search the corners of our homes for monsters, why we glance back at the empty corridor, waiting for something to happen. Humankind never needed such instincts to survive in the natural world, but we evolved to protect ourselves from creatures of her kind. They call these creatures Terufakaphalan, or loosely translated, Insanity Eater, mouthed the inspector. A sudden gust barraged through the window without warning, extinguishing the flames of the dying candles. The inspector shielded the notes with his body from the onslaught of rain pelleting through and heaved the lever shut. The storm outside raging stronger, as if cowering in fear at the words that left his mouth. If he believed them to be true, then this would mark the sign of a sinister omen. He continued through the journal under the fading traces of moonlight through the window. October 10th, 1889. I've identified the material, and my first guess was correct. The subject appears to be an exoskeleton of some sort. Perhaps I've spent too much time with the subject, or my friend's message has my mind playing tricks on me. But it's the most peculiar thing. If I stand close, my breaths seem to echo back to me from within the subject, and if I listen carefully, it's almost as if I can hear it calling my name. Inspector! He froze at the ghostly whisper in his office. He could sense it. It wasn't merely the murmur of the wind. Something had entered the room. He held his breath and slowly shifted his gaze onto the figure before him. Your tea, sir. Made you a strong cup to plow through the night. You gave me quite a fright, he chuckled. Didn't hear you come in. Well, you left the door open, sir. Thought you'd be expecting me. He raised an eyebrow at his assistant, gesturing his confusion. He hadn't left his desk since he began reading. Thank you, he said firmly. Now I must continue without further disturbance. So please, don't forget to close the door on your way out this time. Didn't forget, sir. I know how hacked off you get about it. The inspector immediately dismissed the thought of an unearthly phenomenon at play. He couldn't let his assistant's carelessness compromise his logical mentality. He took a few deep breaths to regain his focus and continued through the journal. November 2nd, 1889. I've named the subject Eve, though I regard myself and my methods rigorously logical. My reasoning on this instance simply do not concur. Just as the periodic table fell into place in mid-to-leave sleep, this name simply appeared in a vivid dream, one I cannot recall having. Eve, the mother of all mankind, whatever this creature was once, I may be the first to have discovered her kind. I only await my good friend's word of confirmation. One thing I failed to notice before, it seems to have a second eye open on the lower back of her neck. I'm not sure how I missed it after many thorough inspections. I ridicule the thought, yet cannot help but wonder if somehow the subject's or Eve's eye was in fact closed from the beginning and had only just opened now. Silence. The unearthly cries from the jail cell came to a sudden halt. Had he grown tired of the screaming? No. Something felt wrong. Disturbed by the lingering suspense, the inspector beckoned his assistant to check upon the mad doctor before he continued deciphering the archaeologist's second message. My dearest friend, letter reaches you in good health. I, myself, have not been. I've remained awake for many days now, unable to sleep, haunted by... Well, we've studied the sample you kindly sent us, and we can confirm your theory correct. It is indeed the remnants of a once living creature. Decipher more of the messages left by the ancient tribe and bring information on the nature of your creature. Few have seen its true form and lived to tell the tale. What you see before you is merely a vessel, a human at last occupied, undergoing metamorphosis to change into the creature's true form. I've had my artist recreate the images we found at the burial, which I have enclosed within this letter. I must warn you, the image haunts me even in sleep." The inspector clutched his grip on the archaeologist's letter, trembling violently, staring wide-eyed at the horror before him. A warm swarm of eyes wrapped around like blood vessels over its witch-twisted and tangled body, wrapped by its 6 arms, clawing like branches of a dead tree. It stood, its 4 raveling tentacles spread like splattered blood across all corners of the page. But its most horrifying feature, the eye that fissured its face in 2 halves like an open jaw, its lashes spiked out like the teeth of a great white, with the 3 distinct pupils and irises streaked across its claw marks. November 12th, 1889. Another eye has opened. I now realize the subject is neither mummified nor a fossil. She's alive. His mug shattered on the ground as the inspector was thrown back, mortified by the horror of the next entry. "She's in my dreams. She's in my dreams. She's in my dreams. She's in my dreams. She's in my dreams. In my dreams. In my dreams." The same words repeated, page after page, forming lines, then spirals, then spiraled in the form of an eye. His frenzy then drew other strange symbols and shapes as the letters all clumped over one another, each page reflecting his increasing insanity as the ink ran dry. The doctor began to carve the letters into the book until finally his frenzy ended on a double page with words that rendered the inspector's blood cold. "And she is beautiful." November 21st, 1889. I write this war. The entry was missing, torn off by the doctor in his frenzy. The inspector shuddered at the twisted thoughts the madman must have recorded as he read the final entry on the doctor's journal. December 1st, 1889. More of her eyes have opened. She is breaking from her slumber and will roam the shadows once more. I cannot allow anyone to disturb her as she recovers her true form. She tells me I am blessed to become her new vessel. She will awaken, and she will feast on mankind's insanity forevermore. "He's dead!" cried his assistant as she slammed open his office door, her face carrying petrified dread, her arms rigid, shaking in uncontrollable spasm. "He ain't breathing. His heart ain't beating. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Help him." The inspector reached for his lantern and keys and darted after his assistant. He stopped at the door of his office. He looked back at his desk, his vision focused on the hardback journal that lay ominously still, as if it were beckoning him. He grabbed the book and sprinted after his assistant. Holding the lantern in his cowering grip, he fixed his eyes on the inert body of the doctor, waiting for him to make his move. But he continued to lie catatonic. "Call the paramedics," he demanded as his assistant raced down the hallway. He watched as she was consumed by the darkness, her scurrying footsteps fading to silence. He was alone now. Eyes transfixed on the doctor, he cautiously turned the lock on the cell door, his hands as cold as the steel that held the madman within. Lest the doctor suddenly attacked, he left the door inched open, only wide enough to make his escape. For the inspector, however, it would be his gravest and final mistake. He gently turned the man on his back, slowly crouching down to shine the flickering, fading light on the doctor's face. Holding his gaze on the tiny blue dead expression on the face before him, he reached for the doctor's clenched fist to feel for his pulse. No pulse. only a note. The inspector reached into the doctor's fist for the crumpled ball of paper. He noticed a torn corner as he unfurled the note. The shape of the tear matched the missing entry in the notebook. The inspector held the missing pieces against each other, dreading the dark secrets he would unravel. November 21st, 1889. I write this warning while able to hold the final fragments of my sanity. She has taken my mind hostage. She lives within the depths of my fear, my insanity, fading. For now she only exists as fragments in the minds of those who have gazed through her eyes. She cannot be allowed to recover to her true form. So long as she continues to repair her former vessel, she will grow stronger. As each eye opens, the more she feeds. Forgive me. It is too late to save them. I must sever her connections to all who have fallen prey to her gaze. I must take drastic actions to prevent her invading our world once again. Any means necessary. My final warning. Do not gaze through her eyes. It uses its eyes to trap its prey and latch onto their minds. Once her eye is embedded into its host, she hooks herself in the victim's brain and projects herself in the shadows, triggering fear and paranoia within her victim, feeding off the insanity. Those who gaze through the holes pierced through her eyes fall mercy to her grasp. She's taken control of my mind, and she's had me draw her image in the book. Do not look through the image. Even that which holds the image of her eye, too, falls under her gaze. The final words echoed in the inspector. Overwhelmed by dread, he frantically flicked back page after page, back to where the insanity took its clutching grip on the doctor. Beware, beware the creature's eye. The warning droned repeatedly in his mind. It was there, hands quaking with the tremors of fear through his veins as he fixed his wide-eyed gaze at the ink-bombed pages. In my dreams, she's in my dreams, she's in my dreams. Even that which holds the image of her eye, too, falls under her gaze. 3 holes pierced through the dead center, the letters shaping to 3 distinct irises and 3 pupils, all slashed across from the right corner of the double page down to the left, taking the form of an eye. Her eye. The inspector tore the pages of the journal, clawing away in frantic spasm. He dug his nails deep into the blood-stained pages and slashed away through the book. He slammed down his foot repeatedly, fracturing its spine, crushing the clawed hardback leather. With a final, blood-curdling bellow, he smashed his lantern over the shredded remnants and set ablaze the cursed notebook. Gasping desperately for air, having escaped from drowning under waves of terror, his eyes flickered with the flames that engulfed the cursed ink and blood-painted pages of the journal. Too late, Inspector, whispered the voice from within him. The doctor's body flung upwards, stretching and twisting into knots. Cracks appeared throughout, tearing his fibers open to reveal a swarm of eyes, blinking furiously, rolling corner to corner in unison. His pale blue-stained skin blackened into an abyss of shadow, and his face fissured its jaws open to reveal its eye. Its lashes spiked out like the teeth of a great white, with the 3 distinct pupils and irises streaked inside like claw marks. You fallen prey to my piercing gaze, and now I forever remain within the depths of your mind. I am free again. I will be every shadow, every whisper of the wind, every sudden movement in the corner of your eye, every monster in every corner you look, in every empty corridor waiting to appear, in your every nightmare. A flash of lightning illuminated the room, and the wind howled through the barred window of the jail cell, extinguishing the flames as the hungry darkness consumed the final flickering traces of light. So, did you guys like that one? Did you guys like my accent? I hope you did. I tried to do with the author. They said they wanted a British accent. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I did this before with another author, Wolf Ice Beer, and I don't think that turned out too good. So I did it with this author, and I hope they like it. Their story was great, though, and I'm glad I was able to, that they wanted me to narrate it. The British accent thing, I don't know. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments, but I tried to do it. I hope A.y.R likes it. But you could check out A.y.R's profile. I put all the links to their Ritzy page and their other stories. Please check them out because they're good as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one like I did. I thought it was pretty creepy. And I'll be back next time with another After Dark Fairy Tales for you guys. To all my new subscribers, I would like to say welcome to my channel again. And I want to thank all you guys for liking my content and my videos. And all of you, all of you guys are special to me. It's not just a number with the subscriptions. I want to let all you guys know that I appreciate what you're doing. And you guys be blessed out there. And I hope you guys enjoy the stories. And I'll be back next time again with another one for you guys. And until next time, good night, my darlings.